Hello, UPL members and any other Pokemon fans that happen to be watching this video. I'm Ashenmore, coach of the Gen 7 Guard Chomps. This week, we are in our second week and also our second to last battle of our rematches in our division. This time, we'll be going up against Mario Main 64 and the Golden State Greninjas. We did win against him in our last battle. This was the first battle of the season that we won. Mainly on the back of Greninja doing work against the Stack Attacka and then blowing back the Jolteon on a switch. I'm not going to run the same strategy, though. I'm going to try to run as many different and unique things as I possibly can, because I just like to try out new sets, and also I don't want to be predictable. Obviously, he learned from that against my team, and I learned some things against his team. Trade-wise, obviously we put on Thundurus T and we put on Como-O since our last game with him. Last time we've played against him, we did use both of the dragons that we traded away, Goodra and Salamence, to pretty heavy effect. So not having those is going to pretty dramatically change the dynamics of building this team. He has done one trade since then. He has added Uxie to his team, and Uxie is just another Trick Room sweeper that literally does not die at almost anything that you can do to it in one hit. So he's going to get Trick Rooms up. That's just the way it is. He could run a Mental Herb Uxie set, and there's no way I could stop that. So I'm not going to. I don't think I need to in this particular game. I look at his team. The main threats that I can think of. Conkeldurr, I don't want to see that. Obviously, him setting up Trick Room, that's a big deal. So the Stack Attacka, primarily. And then the three things that I think that he could bring Scarfed. Rotom-Mow, Kyurem, and Staraptor. I don't think he would bring all three of those. I think he'd bring some combination of two, and out of those, probably one of them would be a Scarfer. And I would be willing to bet it's probably the Rotom-Mow or the Staraptor. I don't think he'd bring it on the Kyurem if he brought the other two. Now, Rotom-Mow Scarf does a lot of work against the team I'm about to bring. If you look at the Team Builder tabs up there, you can see I'm going to have Mega Diancie, I'm going to have a Greninja, and I'm going to have a Swampert, and none of those are going to be Scarfed. That means that Rotom-Mow will do work against my team if I don't have something to deal with it. So I do have something that's specifically planned for that, but that's one of my biggest fears, is that Rotom-Mow being Scarfed. Anyway, let's get into it. The first Pokemon we're going to be using is Thundurus T. We're going to be running him a standard sweeping set. We'll be running him with Nasty Plot. After a Nasty Plot boost, he kills anything on this team, sans Rotom-Mow and Kyurem, with just Thunderbolt and Hidden Power Ground. In the last move slot, it's a toss-up choice. Do I take Sludge Bomb to hit the Rotom-Mow, or do I take Flash Cannon to OHKO the Kyurem? After a lot of debate, I decided on the Sludge Bomb. I figure, hey, I need it against the Rotom-Mow more. This is a potential switch into the Rotom-Mow, and I have other tools that I can use to deal with that Kyurem. I am going to be running Yache Berry, however. This will allow us to survive 2 hits from Hidden Power Ice from either the Rotom-Mow or the Jolteon if he opts to bring them. We could also potentially take out a Kyurem if it's low on HP. We could survive if we're max topped off. That's the idea here for the Thundurus T set. Mainly what this is here for is to hard check the Jellicent. If he goes max defense investment on Jellicent, he cannot take a Thunderbolt from this. Well, he can, but he'll die afterwards. Moving on, the next one we're going to be doing, this is basically our main offensive core, if you will. Greninja. We're running Greninja Choice Band this time. I have not run Band Greninja yet. We'll be running it with Gunk Shot, Night Slash, U-Turn, Low Kick. U-Turn is obviously so we can just simply turn out, gain information, do a ton of damage to Uxie and switch something else in, and we'll talk about one of our strategies for that here in a minute. And really, just if he switches out of the Greninja, this gives us momentum, and a lot of it, because the U-Turn will do a lot of damage. Gunk Shot is there primarily for Rotom-Mow, assuming it's not Scarfed, or if it wants to switch in against a perceived water attack. And against the Mega Gardevoir, there's nothing the Mega Gardevoir can do to survive the Gunk Shot, so as long as we don't miss, that's going to be dead Mega Gardevoir. The Night Slash is there because it OHKOs Jellicent. Even with max defense investment, it has a chance to OHKO. If he has no defense investment, clean kill. It does a ton of damage to other stuff too. It 2KOs the Uxie. It does at least half damage to the Mega Gardevoir if he tried to switch it in against me. It's just all in all going to be a really good move. The last move slot's going to low kick. That's going to hit your Incineroar. It's going to potentially kill the Kyurem. I do need a little bit of chip damage to guarantee that kill. And it's going to OHKO the Stakataka. That's the key reason why it's here, because otherwise I have nothing to hit the Stakataka on this guy. The speed investment is just enough to outspeed modest Jolteon. A lot of times when I'm doing these team builders and I talk about what my speed tiers are going to be, I don't even try to... I either go full speed investment or I don't try to outspeed things that I know I can't outspeed. In this case, I'm going to do kind of a middle ground. I'm doing just enough to outspeed modest Jolteon. So if he happens to lower his speed tier because he thinks I won't invest in speed because I can't beat the Jolteon anyway, I might get to surprise him. That's basically the idea here. That's why I went with that speed. Everything else is invested into HP just to give him a little bit more survivability. Now, my next main offensive Mon is going to be Mega Diancie. We're going to be running it with pretty much standard moves, Moonblast, Earth Power, and we're going to be running Power Gem instead of Diamond Storm. The reason why, we don't really need Diamond Storm. Power Gem allows us to guarantee that kill on Incineroar, even if we get intimidated. That's really the main reason why we're bringing Power Gem. It also does slightly more damage to a couple of things. So that's the idea behind that. The Moonblast obviously is going to check the Kyurem as well as the Power Gem. Earth Power is there for the Stakataka, Jolteon, and so forth. For the last move, I'm bringing Trick Room. This is because casting your own Trick Room nullifies their Trick Room. So the idea is that I could U-turn out my Greninja against one of his Trick Room setters. They set up Trick Room. I bring in Mega Diancie. And then when they go to switch out into the Stakataka, or whatever else he decides to switch into, I Trick Room, cancel it out. Then I either force the Stakataka out, or I kill it with Earth Power. So that's the main idea there. Also, if I do manage to check his slower threats, I could potentially use Trick Room myself to get around things like Jolteon or whatever Scarper he's using later on in the game, especially if it happens to be Rotom Mow, and that may also win me the game. So there's some thoughts going in there. The speed tier is just enough to outspeed base 100 Pokemon if they're max speed invested. That's the Staraptor, and that's the Mega Gardevoir. For our tanky boys, we're going to be running Mega Swampert, or sorry, regular Swampert, not Mega. I had Mega Swampert in one of my favorite teams a couple leagues back, and it was really, really great to run him defensively. But this time we're going to be running him max defense. So max HP, max defense, bold nature, a couple of special attacks. So we're running Earth Power as our main stab move. That is going to allow us to check the Stakataka. And then Ice Beam is going to let us threaten out the Rotom Mow. If it tries to switch in, it'll do at least half damage, assuming he's offense invested. And it'll threaten the Staraptor. It'll also do modest damage to other things. Mainly what he's going to be here for is to absorb physical attacks. So absorbing attacks from the Staraptor and especially the Stakataka. This guy resists both of Stakataka's stab moves. So Gyro Ball, Stone Edge, even Tectonic or Continental Crush, those aren't going to do almost any damage to Swampert. I think Tectonic Crush averages out to about 40%. Yeah, about 40% damage. That's not a lot. So this is one of our key checks to that. The Toxic and Protect are going to be hey, we switch it in against the Stack Attack, you realize it's not doing any damage. We set a Toxic up against the Jellicent or the Uxie. He doesn't really have any methods to clear that debuff, and at least I don't expect him to bring any. I don't think he has any. Maybe Gardevoir has it, but I don't think it does. Obviously, there's some grass coverage moves he could run. I'm not even too worried about that. Only like Specs Jolteon HP Grass is going to one hit me, or a Leaf Storm from the Rotom Mow, but we'll be able to see that it's going to be pretty telegraphed, and we'll be able to switch out of it. The main idea is just this absorbs as many hits as possible. So going on though, I do need a little bit more of a physical tank, I feel. So I'm going to be running Weezing for the second time here, and hopefully he'll see some actual value. We'll be running in Rocky Helmet. The reason for this is that Staraptor usually relies on Brave Bird or on Double Edge to do most of its damage. If he's Scarf, which if I see Staraptor, I assume it's going to be Scarf, a combination of this chip damage along with Rocky Helmet isn't going to allow him to get many attacks off. Add in the move Pain Split, and we can deal with any tank on his team and slowly wear it down. Destiny Bond might allow us to either take a tank out with us, or really just any threat, or even if we just Destiny Bond into one of his switches, he won't be able to use an offensive move for one turn, and we are basically able to get a free move in, a free hit in, maybe on the Mega Gardevoir with Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb is going to hit most things. For the things that it can't hit, Flamethrower will do modest damage, so that's really just for like the Stack Attacka and not really any other reason. I thought about running a couple other moves, maybe Toxic Spikes or something, but I felt like he had enough things that had Levitate that it wasn't very useful for me. All right, and the very last Pokemon we're going to be running Como-O. I definitely wanted the Dragon because I need something that is a reliable check to the Rotom Mow. I thought about a couple of different sets for Como-O. I'm not going to talk about them because I plan on using a couple of them potentially next week against Lucky. But the one I went with for this battle was Assault Vest Como-O invested in HP and attack, and then the leftover obviously in special defense. So obviously it's going to be a 4-attack Como-O. Poison Jab, Drain Punch, Close Combat, Shadow Claw. That's going to hit virtually everything that he can come up against. Now, obviously, Shadow Claw is mainly there for his Trick Room setters, Jellicent and Uxie. It also does a fair bit of damage to Mega Gardevoir if it switches in. Poison Jab is there to threaten out that Rotom Mow. Drain Punch is there just to gain HP back. Close Combat, Oko's the Incineroar, and the Stack Attacka. Pretty legit. Also, I have not talked about Conkeldurr very much. I do have a couple of ways to deal with that, mainly with the Thunderous Tea, the Mega Diancie, and with this. If it ends up being a Drain Punch war between Conkeldurr and Como-O, Como-O will win out in the end, assuming they both start around the same amount of HP. For ability, there's a couple of different things, obviously, that we could pick. I went with Bulletproof rather than Soundproof. Reason why? I assume if the Gardevoir is carrying a Fairy attack, he's already thought about Soundproof and he's going Moonblast. Bulletproof will allow us to survive things, or really just ignore things like a Shadow Ball from Jellicent or a Shadow Ball even from the Rotom Mow. So that's why Bulletproof is there. I thought about a couple of other options for team building, but I really wanted to have a very big special sponge, and I kind of lost that in Goodra. I guess I still liked trading Goodra for Como because Como is a much bigger threat in many different ways. But not having the grass immunity and just basically the ability to completely ignore special attacks on an offensive mon was kind of annoying. So just kind of trying to compensate with that with Assault Vest. But that is the team that we're going to be bringing this time around. So stick around, see what goes on in the battle. Yeah. Welcome to the battle portion of the video. In team preview, we see that he does not have Conkeldurr. That is fantastic. I'm so happy to not have to deal with that Pokemon. He does not have Jolteon. That's pretty nice. Incineroar is not coming along. Those are the main things that I was worried about that he did not bring. Also, Uxie didn't want to have to deal with that. Also, not a factor. He does have a Trick Room core here, though. He does have the Jellicent, he has the Gardevoir, and he has the Stakataka. He has all three of the Mons that I expected he might bring with a Scarf. I know that at least one of them has a Scarf, most likely not two, but maybe two. My guess here, right off the bat, is that if he's got a Scarf, it's either going to be Rotom Mow or it's going to be Staraptor. So I can pretty safely assume here that the Kyurem is probably not going to be Scarfed. It'll probably be Specs, if anything. When deciding to lead, I'm kind of thinking about speed tiers because he does not have that Jolteon. I know there's not really anything that's going to outspeed my Greninja. I can very safely lead it, and depending on what his lead is, I could either blow something back or I can just U-turn out and gain some momentum. So I will go ahead and I will lead with that Greninja, and he will lead with the Kyurem. There is a role, if he is not defensively invested, that low kick kills him here. However, it's like a 10% roll. It's very, very low. So there's no reason to go for that. U-turn is going to get a big chunk of damage, so we're just going to U-turn, and we're going to U-turn out into Mega Diancie. Reason being, there's not really any way he would click Earth Power here. It doesn't really make any sense. The only way he scores an OHKO against a Greninja is by hitting Draco Meteor. Draco Meteor is also decent neutral damage against literally anything else on my team. So I'm going to go ahead and go for that. We hit the U-turn, get a little over 25%, and we absorb the Draco Meteor, which is great. Obviously here, we're going to go ahead and Mega Evolve that Mega Diancie, go ahead and hit Moonblast and see what happens. We do that, he switches in Jellicent, and we get a decent chunk of damage. Based off of this roll, we know that he has no investment whatsoever in special defense. So that's something that's really important to note later on when we're thinking about our Thunderous T and whether or not it can check the Jellicent. It definitely, absolutely can. So my guess is he's either some weird offensive build, which I highly doubt, or he's fully defense invested specifically to check things like, you know, the Swampert or the Greninja. So obviously, we need the Diancie right here. We don't want to get rid of it. So we are going to switch out, and we are going to go into Swampert, expecting he's going to go for a Scald. And obviously, we don't take too much damage. I go ahead, look in the calc. He's not offensively invested. It's just a defensive Jellicent, so it's not a big deal. Here, I can set up a Toxic on it. The only thing that would be bad about casting Toxic right now is if he switched into Stakataka, but again, that would give me a free Earth Power, which would guarantee kill it, regardless of what it is. So go ahead and click that Toxic, and the Giga Drain is revealed. I actually did not remember that Jellicent had Giga Drain, so this caught me completely by surprise. We lost a lot of HP, but with the leftovers recovery, we'll be hovering around 40%. It's still enough to absorb an attack, pretty much any attack from the Stakataka, and most attacks from the Staraptor, assuming the Staraptor's not banned. So I am going to go ahead and switch out here, or I'm going to go ahead and protect. That will allow me to get a little bit more leftovers recovery. Then I am going to switch. And I go ahead and go into Thundurus, expecting he's going to go for Giga Drain again. Here, I'm just going to hit Thunderbolt. I know he'll die from that, but he instead switches into Stakataka, and we get a good 50% damage on the Stakataka. An important thing to note for this next play. When I was doing calculations, an uninvested special defense Stakataka, so no special defense investment, but max HP, takes a minimum of 48.5% damage from Thunderbolt off of Thunderous T. So this was a very low roll to land him at around 50%. Do keep in mind, I have HP Ground. I consider clicking HP Ground, but I do not, because I expect either he'll switch or I will get a slightly better than awful roll, and it will kill the Stakataka straight out. So I think I had a 5 and 7 chance of killing the stack attacker here. So I go for the Thunderbolts, and 1%. And then we'll lose, unfortunately, Thunderous T. Very, very sad. We basically throw him away there. But we'll go into the Diancie because he doesn't seem to like to deal with that and take the stack attack out pretty easy. He'll go into Jellicent, and I'll go into Wheezing to absorb the Giga Drain there. My thought here is I've got stuff that can absorb Staraptor. I'm not too concerned about that. There's maybe one move on Staraptor I'm worried about, which is Steel Wing. Otherwise, Mega Diancie can take care of that guy. I've also still got the Swampert. So my idea here is to basically whittle down the Jellicent with my Wheezing. At any rate, we're going to sit in front of this thing, do damage, Pain Split until he decides to switch out, then we'll get a Pain Split on that thing. That's basically the overall idea. If I end up trading the Wheezing for the Jellicent, that is completely fine too. So I will go ahead, I'll eat a Scald that does a fair bit of damage. Obviously, I'm not invested in special defense on this guy. His Cursed Body will disable the Sludge Bomb, which doesn't do much damage anyway, so who cares? I go for the Pain Split. Now Toxic is pretty much going to kill him next turn if he decides to attack, which he does. Our Flamethrower obviously doesn't do anything, and the Jellicent is near dead. We basically trade Jellicent for Wheezing here. There's no reason for me not to send out Greninja again. Pretty much just like the beginning of the battle, I know he doesn't have anything besides a Scarfer that can fight it, and he's not going to put in his main Scarfer right now. He's going to use that for cleanup once he just gets rid of enough stuff. There's no reason not to go Greninja here. If I shoot Gunk Shot, it's going to either kill or maim anything he can put in. Therefore, we will go for the Gunk Shot. Blow that Gardevoir back, pretty easy. And then the Staraptor comes in. The only reason he'd put Staraptor in here is if it's Scarf. He could also be faking the Scarf, but I highly doubt that's the case. I'm going to go in to Swampert. Swampert should be able to absorb any attack this guy does. And he will take that close combat like a champ. We will protect to get a little bit more leftovers recovery. That way we have a roll to survive the next one if he decides to use it. And because of his defense drops, we go for that Ice Beam. And thankfully he switches in Rotom Mow, and we get 50% of Rotom Mow's HP right off the bat. That's pretty fantastic. I expect Leaf Storm here. I want a little bit more HP, so I'm going to go ahead and just protect. He does go for that Leaf Storm. Then we're going to switch into the Komo-o, which is our check to this, although he will also switch out into Kyurem. We know he has Draco Meteor at this point. Even with Assault Vest and the investments we put into Komo-o, Draco Meteor will straight up kill Como. There's no reason to leave him out here. He might have predicted I would go into Mega Diancie. Obviously, I'm not going to do that. I know he's not Scarfed, but he could go for an Earth Power, and that would be pretty terrible, because he could be Specs. I haven't actually taken damage from him yet, so I don't know. I will go ahead and I'll just switch into the Swampert. There's no reason not to. He is not Specs. So he's not Specs, he's not Scarf, he's not Life Orb. I don't know what set he is. Maybe he had a Resistance Berry of some kind. It definitely wasn't Fairy Berry, or it probably wasn't the Fairy Berry. It's probably maybe Haban Berry. I'm not really sure. I'm not certain on that one. We are going to let Swampert go down here. We don't really need him that much anymore. Send out Mega Diancie, because we know he can't fight that. And we're going to go for a Power Gem. That'll kill anything left on his team at this point. Raptor comes out. We're going to switch into Greninja. We don't have to do this, but I wanted to check for the Steel Wing. He didn't use it, so I'm going to assume he doesn't have it. We're just going to right back into Diancie, use Power Gem again, take out the Rotom. And now, pretty sure that he doesn't have Steel Wing, so Power Gem is going to win the game for us right here. And that's playoffs for the Gen 7 Garchomps for the UPL. Heck yeah. Good game to Mario Man. I really enjoyed playing against your team both times. Yeah, nothing more to say about that. You played a good season. I'm sorry you won't make it the playoffs, but I'll do my best to represent you there. Anyway, next week we're going up against Lucky, who is the current number 1 seed in our division. So consider this your shout out. Also, I'll take this time to mention that he's given me my new nickname for Scrafty forever on from this point, which is Darth Hoodie. So thank you for that. I'll be coming at you next week. Hopefully we can pull out a win and have a perfect second half of the season. Potentially, we could even get first seed if we 6-0'd Lucky. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't play for differential. I just play to win and to have fun. So we win, we win. If not, doesn't matter. We will get at least one extra game this season, so we have a shot at the title, which is all I can really ask for. So thanks for watching, and tune in next week.